good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, wherever you're watching this. Welcome to In Conversation With. We're back for a second series and we're really excited to share these new episodes with you. We've got some great people sharing their testimony with us, so do join with us over the coming weeks. As we release episodes, we're going to be doing 2 episodes a week, coming out on a Tuesday and a Thursday afternoon. So we're really excited to share those with you. Hopefully you might have seen some of the first series and I hope you've enjoyed them. If not, do go back and check them out, but it's great to have you with us if it's your first time watching. The idea of this podcast is very simple. We basically just want to share the gospel of Jesus with as many people as possible, share how Jesus can work in anybody's life, no matter who you are or what you've done, how he can change lives and how he can change your life as well. So I'll just introduce myself as well. My name is James. I'm from Crown Lane Free Methodist Church, and I'll be hosting all these podcast episodes and interviewing the guests that are coming on. So sit back and I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode. Well, today it is great to be joined by and to be in conversation with Billy McCurrie. Billy, it's great to have you with us. It's great to see you. Could you perhaps give us a quick introduction of yourself before we get going?
Yes, thank you for having me and including me in this series of interviews. I'm currently a Baptist pastor here in Ormskirk, which is West Lancs. I've been here for 22 years now. So that's a little introduction to what I'm currently doing at the minute.
Brilliant. Well, you say, Billy, that you're currently living in Ormskirk. Now, as you know, we met while I was at university in Ormskirk. Now, you haven't quite got the Scouse accent, have you? So maybe if you could share a little bit with us, Billy, about your early life. Where did you grow up? What was it like? That sort of thing, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's not a Lancashire accent, as you rightly point out. And that was quite a few years ago. We met when you were at Edgehill. It's good that the contact has been maintained over those years. But yes, I come originally from Northern Ireland. Moved over to England in 1999 to take up the pastorate here in Aughton Park Baptist. I grew up in the 1960s in Northern Ireland in a working class home, a working class area, the lower part of the Newtonards Road. Any folks who see news footage or film footage from Belfast, usually what they show are 2 huge yellow cranes with H&W on them, Harland and Wolff. They used to be where the shipyard used to be. And I remember as a little boy, those cranes being built in the late 60s. Grew up in a very happy home, a very stable home. Mum and dad, older sister, older brother, myself and then a younger sister. My older brother and sister, several years between us. So like in the 60s with the whole sort of cultural revolution and the onset of popular music, they were into the likes of the Beatles, the Monkees, the Tom and Motown and all of that stuff. And so that they influenced quite a bit of what I listened to as I grew older. And of course my mum, like she would go around the house cleaning, and as she went around the house cleaning, she would be singing country songs. So I've got a bit of a love for country music today as a result of that. And I think as a young boy growing up, I think although yes, there was always trouble in Northern Ireland, Ireland has had a troublesome past historically, but I think my parents shielded me quite a bit from what was going on politically. And what captivated my imagination as a little boy growing up was the Apollo space program. When Kennedy had said, we'll within 10 years or whatever it was, in 1962 or 63, he said, we will put a man on the moon. And watching that whole Apollo program as a boy was what captivated my imagination more than what was unfolding on the streets of Belfast and Londonderry, particularly in the late 60s, when the Troubles, as they became known, erupted. So, yeah, that's a little bit about my home life, James. A very stable, very happy home life, and some lovely memories of growing up in that home in the 1960s.
Yeah, you speak very fondly of your early childhood, Billy, and you just touched a little bit on growing up in Northern Ireland and with the Troubles in Ireland as well. And there was obviously a great change that happened in your childhood, Billy. If you maybe just share a little bit about that for us.
Yeah, say 1968, 69, violence erupted on the streets of Belfast and Londonderry, and I think at the time most people thought that it was just going to peter out and die down, as it had other sporadic outbursts of violence in the history of the province. But it didn't. These troubles, as we now know historically, were to last for 30 years. And British troops were posted to the province in 1969. It was supposed to be a short-term deployment, but I say they were there 30 years later. And yeah, as a little boy, seeing the troops on the streets, with their guns and their armoured vehicles and the barbed wire fences, etc., that were putting up, that, I guess, there was no sense of anxiety maybe as a boy. From what I can remember growing up, there was a novelty factor, but excitement seeing soldiers on the streets. So I never really grasped the seriousness of the situation as a young boy of 11. And as I say, what really interested me was, they're going to get to the moon. When's the next Apollo rocket going to take off? That was what was capturing my imagination more than, what was happening by way of violence on the streets. But as you say, the violence came very poignantly to our own door on the 27th of June, 1970. Now, I could take you through each step of that particular Saturday that I spent with my dad in the early hours of that Saturday morning. My mum woke me up and asked me if I wanted to go a walk with my dad. He was going to go on a walk, and would I like to join him? And I got up and off we went that glorious Saturday. It was a beautiful, beautiful morning. What I remember, there wasn't a cloud in the sky. It was so warm. And I think the World Cup was just the week before that, or maybe it was just the previous month. Sorry, I think it was May 70. The World Cup was in Mexico. Brazil had just won, with Pele and all of those boys in that Brazilian team, Jaracino, etc. And yeah, I think I was peppering my dad, with all sorts of questions about football and about the Apollo space program and everything. I think he probably wanted a quiet walk, but I was torturing him, But to say, obviously you can edit this as you like, James. I'm just rambling on here, But that day, does hold so many precious memories for myself. Tragic memories also, because that night my dad was shot dead by the IRA. When I know historically that this particular night, Saturday, 27th of June, 1970, was the the first night, really, the Provisional IRA operated in Belfast. So they were stamping their credentials as guardians of the Republican community and sort of the fighters for an All-Ireland. That all happened that Saturday night. So on a totally unprovoked attack, my dad was just coming home. He turned the corner. Several Republican gunmen opened up, and he was shot dead. I heard the shots. My mum wanted to put me to bed, at the normal time. But I had said to her, no, I want to see my dad. I've got something to say to him. I can't remember if I did want to say something to him. Maybe I was just using that as a ploy to get to stay up a bit earlier. But my mum let me stay up, and here about 11:30 there was this blast of automatic gunfire. And little did I know it was my dad being killed. And then that gunfire continued right the whole way through the night for several hours. It didn't stop. Because it was such a warm night, and women were standing outside the doors having a chat, and I was just sort of playing about the street. When the gunfire started, I was pulled into a neighbour's house, get separated from my mum. And while I was in the house, a number of people were in the house. I was sitting on the armchair, had my eyes closed, and could hear people coming and going over the gunfire. And there were hushed whispers. Whispering, does he know it's awful? Has anybody told him? And I remember getting up and saying, what haven't you told me? What don't I know? And running out the door, and hands trying to grab me and pull me back in. And I was running up the street, and I can still see the tracer bullets. And my friend's dad stepped out and grabbed me. And I was crying, and I must have sussed that something was happening in the house with all those whispers. And I was saying, where's my daddy? And he said to me, Billy, your daddy's not coming home, your daddy's dead. And I can remember saying to him, this is God's will. Or perhaps it wasn't perhaps this is God's will. He said, this is God's will. That was it. And he grabbed me by the shoulders, and he nearly shook the life out of me. And he said, you listen to me, there is no God. This has nothing to do with God. And he used an expletive, and referring to the Roman Catholic community, he said it's those people. And never you forget that. Okay, it's nothing to do with God. And I guess from that moment on, the life was radically changed, and God became an irrelevance. I used to go to Sunday school. As a kid, I was sent to Sunday school, as were most of the kids in the neighbourhood. Not that our parents were particularly religious, but it was a place to send the kids so that they could get a half hour's peace or an hour's peace. But after that, never ever went back to Sunday school. The idea of God was probably a nice idea when I met Christian teachers in school. And they were talking about God and things. It sounded nice, but really at the end of the day, where was this all-powerful God the night my dad was killed, If he was such an all-powerful God, he could have stepped in and stopped that. Could have stopped all the pain we're feeling. And I've often said, James, as a family, we didn't have a monopoly and don't have a monopoly on violence. lots of families have been touched as a result of the violence in Northern Ireland. Not everybody reacted the way we reacted, but certainly as a family, and certainly myself, reacted with hate and a longing for revenge and wanting to get revenge for what had happened to my dad. There was this darkness just came over the whole family. We were sort of enveloped in this oppressive darkness, and just the hate and the bitterness grew every day like a cancer. And I said about my mum singing when she was going around house cleaning, and after my dad was murdered, she never sang again. She said she had nothing to sing about. And at the time of the shooting, my mum was 3 months pregnant. And 6 months later to the day, my younger brother was born. And I can still remember him as a wee boy running in off the street and running up to my mum and asking what a daddy was. How come his friends had a daddy to talk about and he hadn't. And to see my mum break down in tears trying to explain why there's no father figure in the home sows the seeds of hatred and bitterness, So it's not just that, a loved one dies and that's it. There are so many ramifications from that. So many things that happen that, just spark the hate and fuel the hate. And so that's what happened in those early years of the Troubles. My dad, I think, he was about the 40th odd person to be killed in the Troubles. So it was very early days. He was one of the first civilians murdered.
Thanks, Billy. I mean, it's very harrowing to hear you share about it. And it clearly had a great effect on yourself and your family. And you've touched on it a little bit. But what sort of effect did your father's death have on you and your family, and what did you want to do following your father's death?
Well, so you're right, Lisa. I've touched on the effects of that, but what did I want to do to elaborate on that? Yeah, well, I wanted revenge. So, what way was I going to get revenge? I didn't think that joining the security forces would get revenge because they were operating under a strict set of rules. Rules, it's the terrorist group, the IRA didn't abide by. So I thought terrorism had to be fought by terrorism. And the only way to strike back at them was through involvement in a terrorist organization. So I got involved in the junior wing of the Ulster Volunteer Force at the age of 16. Got into the organization solely to kill as many people as possible from the other side, to inflict as much pain as possible on them as they had inflicted upon me. Now, I know some people listening to that say that, well, that's irrational because you're creating a cycle of violence, and I would agree with them, but back then I would have been saying, well, my actions are perfectly rational. I want to inflict the same level of pain that I was feeling on those who caused this pain on the enemy. My older brother had joined the Ulster Volunteer Force also, wanting to seek revenge. So as a family, we were just on that path of violence. I would say not by our choice. I'm not saying that what we did was our actions were justified looking back, but I'm just saying that what had happened to my dad sort of forced us down that road of looking and wanting and desiring and longing for revenge. I remember the night I joined the organisation, 3 of us joined that night. 3 became good friends. One of them sadly died as a result of a bomb that he was planting going off prematurely. But 3 of us joined. I remember going into this bar in Belfast where the organisation was meeting, and the commander of this little group coming up to us and saying, you know, what do you want to do? I remember saying, well, I just want to kill. And he laughed, and he made a gesture with his hand to the group, about 60 or 70 odd young lads behind him. And he said, as he laughed, he said, you got to wait your turn. There's about 60 in front of you. And that's what I found really frustrating, that I was joining a queue, that my longing for revenge was going to have to take its turn. And that's what I find frustrating. You know, that going into the organisation, trained in started to train in bomb making, because you can kill more people with a bomb than you can with a gun. And only by the grace of God, a lot of things that we had planned to do and wanted to do didn't come off for one reason or another. But yeah, that's what I did following my dad's death.